Howdy my totally always tubular gamers, and we're back with another video. Thanks for coming back to the channel, and today we're doing something a little different. It's not a ranking video. Today we're going to be doing a review on Super Bomberman R2. And before we get started, I want to give a shout out to Konami. They did provide me with a review code here, so thank you very much, Konami. So let's get right into it. Super Bomberman R2. It's the sequel to Bomberman R. If you forgot about that game, well, you're not alone. It was a Switch launch title that was famous for having a hideous spine if you owned the game physically, but it was still a pretty decent game that did get regularly updated by Konami, and eventually it came to other platforms. And then there was a free-to-play live service Bomberman game released where it had like a battle royale, typical Bomberman modes, and a few other hidden goodies, and that game unfortunately has been discontinued in favor of Super Bomberman R2, which is kind of like the best of both Bomberman R games and some new stuff. Now when it comes to Bomberman and I, we've been going pretty steady for a couple years now. I love the 64 trilogy, all three of those games. I like the GameCube games, and I've even had some fun with the old ones, but I've never been like the biggest Bomberman fan. I've never just lost my shit for some of these games like some people have. The music does slap in just about all of them though, I can say that. But I'm just glad that Bomberman is still around in today's day and age. You know, there's new games coming out and there's somebody still playing these Bomberman games. It makes me happy. Like Bomberman, you wouldn't expect to really be around these days, but here we are with a new game, and I'm glad that we're here to talk about it. So history class is over, it's recess time. Let's get into the game. What do we got here? We've got some online modes, we've got the single player, and then of course the customization. Let's talk about the single player first. The game takes place after Bomberman R and sees the Bomb family, whatever you want to call them. Okay, Bomb family might not be PC. The Bomberman people, it's about them really going around the universe. They meet these new aliens known as the Elons, and they just kind of want to protect them, and yeah, there's a new threat, and so it's time to blow shit up. The story is very lighthearted, goofy, and doesn't really take itself seriously. You know, I kind of always liked it when it was just Bomberman and he didn't talk either, and there was usually some kind of threat he had to take out, but now it's like whole family's here, there's a bunch of characters, they're all talking, and I've never been big on this. It's just kind of there for me, and to be honest, I was very tempted to skip the cutscenes just because I was rolling my eyes so much. I didn't really care much for the story itself. But when it comes to the gameplay of the single player, it's a little different from normal Bomberman. You're not just walking around the maze blowing stuff up. You actually get to go through these areas. And it's nothing you haven't really seen before for a Bomberman game. You just kind of go through these areas, blowing up blocks, defeating enemies, occasionally solving some puzzles, and you're collecting these little alien friends. And you need to collect so many of them to get to the next area, and then as you go through the areas, eventually you'll come across a castle where you get to play the castle game mode, rinse and repeat for 3 worlds. It's not the longest or the most engaging or even the most fun, but it is a single player mode. You know, it doesn't feel all that different from regular Bomberman gameplay, just with levels instead of going up against CPUs or humans, and I mean, it's fine. I wouldn't say these levels are like expertly designed or the gameplay is, again, the most engaging, but it's over before you know it. It's no way longer than like 3 or 4 hours. I was done with the first world in under an hour and a half, and there's only 3 in the game. Something that is different in the single player though is when you actually have to defend your base. There's a few times for each world where you do have to defend your base from the enemy, and this is where it's the castle game mode where they have to get the key to get into your base, and you actually get to use the level editor and completely customize the area to try to stop the enemies. And this I think is actually pretty decent. This is a fun change of pace, and I like the level editor. The level editor is really easy to use in this game. It's really easy to understand. I don't really have any complaints with it. It's a solid enough level editor, and you can even play online or play with friends on the levels you make, so that's cool. But if you're playing this game, there's a likely chance you're not playing it for the single player. You're probably playing it for, you know, the battle modes, the online modes, or maybe the local multiplayer modes, what Bomberman's always been known for. And the multiplayer in this game seems actually really solid. I don't like a few things, but for the most part, yeah, this is actually some of the best Bomberman multiplayer I think I've ever seen. So to start with some praise, let's talk about how there's 4 different modes, which is pretty cool. You know, I alluded to and briefly described castle mode, but what it really is an asymmetrical battle between the castle side, which protects this treasure chest, and the attack side, which aims to win the treasure chest. This gets very chaotic very fast. There's of course standard, which is the classic Bomberman battle mode loved by everyone. Then there's the Grand Prix, which was new to me, which is a battle of 2 teams working with your allies to defeat the opposing team. And then the game mode I think most people want to play, which is Battle 64, which is where it's basically a battle royale where it's 64 players all trying to be number 1. And I can confidently say that all 4 of these game modes are actually a ton of fun. You know, this is some of the most fun I've ever had with any Bomberman multiplayer experience. I was actually like, wow, this is actually a good time. I think the castle mode is actually a pretty decent addition. This is fun. And the battle royale mode, oh, that's great. The classic and the other one, yeah, those are cool too. But man, that battle royale is actually a ton of fun. That's like where I've had some of the most fun with any Bomberman game, legit. This is great. I really did want to play more of it. But there is a negative here. You can't just freely pick whatever game mode you want, which is really weird. This is some Splatoon shit where every hour of the day the game mode changes and everybody's just forced to play that type of game mode. There is crossplay, so you're pretty much always going to find people. Fortunately, I wasn't really having AI join me for the most part, but it's just really weird that yeah, every hour of the day there's a different game mode going on, and it might not be the one you want. So say you want to play castle, but for the next like 2 or 3 hours it's not the castle mode. So what, am I supposed to come back later in the day? Like, what? This is so weird. Like, what if I got a full-time job, I got kids, I got time commitments, I just want to sit down and play like 30 minutes of some Bomberman, I want to play some Battle Royale, but you sat down in the 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. time frame, we're not playing Battle Royale, we're not playing that till 9 p.m. Well, 9 p.m. I got shit going on, I want to play the Battle Royale now. Like, this just seems really weird. Why would they do this? I have a few ideas as to why, but I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty. I'm going to just say this is a baffling, poor decision that is like my biggest issue with the entire game. They should just let me freely pick whatever game mode I want to play. But when you're done with matches, you know, you get money and you can spend that money to get new characters, costumes, emotes, words. There's actually quite a bit you can buy in the shop, and there's a bunch of other Konami characters, which is cool. My favorite Pyramid Head was in here, so you know I'm going to play as him, and he seems really good. In fact, some of these characters seem just far better than the regular Bomberman characters, so I don't know how the balance is there. But you know, anytime Suikoden or Silent Hill shows up, I'm going to be a simp for it and enjoy it. But along with stuff you can buy, the game does have kind of a live service element with seasons and challenges and all of that. And you know, this might be the best way for Bomberman to go to keep people playing. Like, it makes sense, you know, it's a multiplayer title. It would have some live servicey elements and wouldn't just be the old fun Bomberman games of yesteryear. Now we got to have some kind of progression behind it and incentives. And I mean, it's a good idea on paper. I don't know exactly how well this is executed. I haven't seen the live service for more than a few days since that's all I've played of this game, and I didn't touch the other R online games. So I mean, maybe the live service is terrible, maybe it's not updated enough, maybe it's actually really solid and this is underrated. I'm not really too sure. At least I didn't see any microtransactions, at least not immediately, so that's a thumbs up from me. When it comes to the game's presentation and music, I think it was pretty solid. I mean, it still is a little budget and it doesn't look, you know, like absolutely amazing, but it's stylized, and I'd say the game looks fine. It ran perfectly fine on my computer and I didn't have any frame rate issues, and the music's actually kind of good in this game. Not even kind of, it's actually pretty decent. Overall, I think Super Bomberman R2 is a good game. You know, I know a lot of people have been complaining about it, saying it's just a cash grab from Konami since they shut down the free-to-play Bomberman game, but I didn't play that one, and I didn't play a ton of Super Bomberman R. I played a bit of it when it came out, and that was really it. So it had been a while since I played a new Bomberman game, and I enjoyed the game for what it was. You know, I do like Bomberman. I had some fun with this game. The Battle Royale mode's good. Castle is decent. The story mode is kind of just whatever, but it exists. There's a single player. The game full price is $50, which is just too much in my opinion. I would not have bought this game for $50, and I don't think anyone else should. The game will go on sale immediately. It will be $20 in the next 3 to 6 months. That's when I recommend it. If you like Bomberman, check it out. If you don't like Bomberman, don't check it out. If you've wanted to try Bomberman, this is a great place to start. I still do recommend the 64 games over this game, but yeah, this is a good game, and I did have some fun with it. I know barely anybody, like period, has talked about this game, but it exists. Here we are. Thank you again to Konami for the review code. If you like this review, please like, share, subscribe, and I hope everyone has a nice day. See ya.